Hello again, everyone. We are going to learn how to shade various scenarios in regards to Venn diagrams. In the previous video, we talked about complements, the union and intersection of sets with complements, and this particular lesson is just going to show you how to shade in the appropriate regions based on various scenarios that I will give you. Okay, so we're going to start with the most basic and then kind of work our way up. All right, and I will show you the best way to do it, or one of the best ways I could think of doing it. You probably have seen this before. It's very common to do it like this, but okay, let's get started. Okay, so we are going to start with our universal set, and that's always going to be represented with U. And we're going to have set A and set B. All right, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and write that on the outside so it looks a little better. Okay, that's A, and that's B. And we're going to shade in region A. And basically how you do that is go ahead and shade in everything that includes, that everything is in area A. So this first circle, it represents the subset A. And I'm just essentially drawing everything in there so it includes it. All right? And that's what it would look like. Okay? Now I'm going to work between a set and then its complement, because it's easier to see it that way because it's going to be the opposite area that's going to be shaded. So when we do the complement, I want you to look at the first Venn diagram that I just completed, okay? And just kind of keep that in mind, that we're going to shade the opposite region, all right? And you're going to clearly see what I mean, all right? So okay. So we have A and B. And I want you to think of in terms, I want you to shade in the A complement, and that's usually prime, okay? Sometimes you'll see C, superscript C, or a bar over the letter, okay? Same thing. I talked about that in my previous video. So just a word device, the complement of A is also equal to that, is also equal to that. Okay? Oops. The bar, okay? All right, so let's shade in the complement of A. Well, if you look at the first Venn diagram, I shaded in the entire circle A. What we're going to do is the opposite, all right? So let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to shade in this whole region. Just like that. It's like a coloring book. Whoops, this pen working here. All right, so just go ahead and shade it in. I'm just gonna do this for you so you can see exactly what's going on. And you notice that the region that's not shaded is the region A. Can you see that? It's not shaded in at all. Okay, so shade in everything except A. It's the opposite. Think of it the opposite. Okay? All right. So let's look at some more examples. Okay, so we have another region. And we'll have two more subsets. Okay, and we'll just go ahead and shade in this. All right, I want you to shade in the union of A and B. All right, so everything in A and everything in B. Okay, that's going to be pretty easy. All right, so we're going to shade in everything in A as well as B. Okay. So you make sure you shade in both A and B, everything inside A and everything in B. All right. Now let's do the opposite. Let's do the complement of that. Okay, because it's a little bit easier to understand if we have one, and then you can be pretty much anytime you have the complement, whatever you did is going to be the opposite region. So we have two subsets. Whoops. In A and B, just like before. And then if you look at what I shaded in on top, whoops, excuse me. I didn't mean to do that, apologize. My beautiful diagram. All right, so we're going to shade the opposite of that, and that's everything that's outside of the A and B. Okay, does that make sense? Everything. And basically what I'm asking you to do is I need you to shade in this. All right, the complement of the union of A and B. Okay, so just do everything that's opposite, and you're just going to shade in. So if we shade in, okay, I'm not going to shade everything. I got a little overzealous with the coloring, so I'm just going to do this instead, okay? So it's much faster. You notice that I didn't shade in anything in A and B, all right? Because it's the area that's outside. Complement means if you have the union of A and B, right, then you're having everything in A and B together, but the complement means everything that's not in those two sets, so it should be everything on the outside. Does that make sense? So it's the opposite. So if you draw, you know, a union or an intersection, right, because that's pretty easy to do, the complement is going to be the opposite of that, okay? All right, I want to show you two more. Well, actually, many more, but I'm going to do two more, okay? And this one, we're going to do the intersection. Okay. And basically, we have those two. And I want you to shade in this intersection of A and B. And that's basically what they have in common. Okay, so the intersection, this is really easy because if you have two subsets, right, where they overlap will be what they have in common. And the only place where A and B overlap is right here. All right, so that was very easy. Now, if you want to shade in the complement of that, all right, then the opposite is going to be shade. Everything's going to be shaded except that intersection, except that overlap that I just did on top. Okay, So essentially that's going to be pretty easy. You're just going to basically shade everything. That is, whoops, I can actually shade that as well. All right. And that's that. Okay. So you're going to shade that in. Okay. Notice that little intersection is not being shaded because you want the complement. So everything that's not in that intersection. All right. So we're going to talk about some more scenarios. So the next thing we're going to do is I want you to shade in the union of A complement B. All right. So what this means is that this is the union. Okay. So that's what we're finding, the union. And we want to find everything in A. All right. So when we do that, okay, everything in A. I'm going to use 2 colors here so it's a little easier to see. Okay, everything in A. That's what that means. And then we want to shade in everything that's not in B. All right. So when we do that, all right, when we shade in everything that's not in B, okay, you notice that it's really going to look like that. If I'm just shading in everything not in B, this is what it would look like in red. Okay, so yeah, it's going to overlap the blue area that I shaded. That's okay, because I'm doing it step by step. So that's why I'm using 2 colors now, because I want you to see that the region A is everything inside A in blue. And then now I am doing everything that's not in B in red. And the only area that does not get shaded is this area in B. Okay? And that is what it would look like. Okay? What if I want you to shade in the union of A complement and B complement? Okay. So we have 2 regions. Okay, so everything that's not in A. Okay, so if we do everything that's not in A, okay, that should look like this. You know, everything that's not in A, right? Should look like that in blue. Notice I'm not coloring anything in A. A is completely unshaded, but everything around A is going to be shaded in blue. All right. Then I want you to shade in everything that's not in B. Okay. Everything not in B. Well, everything not in B, okay, is going to look like this. So I'll do that in red. Okay, so it's a little bit easier to see. Everything not in red. Okay, so watch what happens. All right, so everything in blue, everything that's not in A is in blue. Everything not in B is going to be in red. All right, and just watch what happens. Okay, everything not in B. Can you see that? I'm not shading anything in B. Okay. And you notice it should be the same to the left. Okay. So I'm not shading in any intersection. You see the intersection here? Okay. All right. This intersection in the middle that I'm pointing to, all right, is not going to be shaded in. Okay. So, no, this is the union. Okay. This is also the union as well. Okay. So you're shading in the union. All right. You're identifying the union of all the elements not in A and not in B. Okay? So that is what it would look like. Okay? All right, let's do some more examples. Okay? For this particular example, I'd like you to shade in the region of the intersection of A and B complement. So what do I mean by intersection? Okay, well, that's where they have in common. So doing the intersection. And for this one, I'm going to break it down into two separate sub-diagrams so that you can see the overlap. And basically what an intersection is think about that as basically so what they have in common. Okay, that's really important. All right, so I'm going to draw two okay. And you're going to see why this is going to be helpful to you. Right? So don't forget, this is A, that's B, that's A, and that's B. So we want to make sure that we're labeling so we know what region we're talking about. So there's no ambiguity, there's no confusion, whatever you want to call it. We just want to make sure we're clear and concise here of what we're doing. So for learning purposes, we're going to draw two separate, diagram, two separate Venn diagrams to show you what they have in common. It's just easier this way, okay? And I'm sure you have seen other instructors or professors teach it like this as well. But if not, then this is a good way that I've learned it. So hopefully this will help you. Let's go ahead and shade in region A. So if we're going to do region A, now before I'm going to do it over here, okay? This is what it'll look like if I shade in just region A, right? You guys can clearly agree with that? Okay. Now let's shade the other part of it, complement B, which means not in B. And that's everything that's not in B. And if you do that, okay, all right, you notice that I'm going to shade everything that's not in B, okay? Oops, technically, you know what I did? I made a little error. So I should go ahead and put that little circle there. And, you know, because I have to do things, well, I don't want to do that. No, let's do the eraser. So let me just clean that up, okay? And just bear with me here. Okay. And originally I had that shaded in, right? And then now let's go ahead and redo that. Okay. So again, I want to shade everything that's not in B. So when I do that, my blue lines should not be entering circle B, okay? And that includes the intersection here. All right. Oh, I want to do that in the other box. Okay, that's okay. All right, no worries. What I was going to do is I was going to do it separately like this, and that's what I meant to do. So I got a little bit excited here and wasn't paying attention, but I was going to draw the blue region separately so you can clearly see that I'm not shading anything in B. That's all. I just kind of did it at once, but I wanted you to see it separately. So I'm going to clean this up because I got to have it accurate. So let me just clean this up. Okay, and then it's okay. It's an easy fix. All right. So we had our two regions, and then don't forget we circled everything in A. That was our original plan here, right? And I said, okay, we circled everything in region A. All right, now let's go ahead and just overlap that to make sure we understand that. And then separately, what we did is we want to shade in everything that's a complement of B, which means everything not in B. And we did that at the bottom. And then I want you to see where they overlap. What regions overlap? If I were to put these two into one overlay, where do they overlap? You're going to clearly see that they overlap here. Okay? This region here is clearly where they share or have in common. Can you guys see that? All right? So therefore, the region you should be shading is this. I apologize for that little mix-up. There wasn't a mix-up. I just kind of did it all at once, but I wanted to show you separately. So hopefully you didn't mind me erasing it rather than doing a whole video over again. So if you do it separately, and then now this is the region where you want, okay? This is where it's in common. Okay, in green. Okay, so there's another one I want to show you. So we'll go over to the next slide. The next example is I would like you to shade in the region, which would be the intersection of A complement and B complement. Okay, remember we did unions before. Okay, so we're going to do another intersection. And again, I'm going to do two sub-Venn diagrams. All right. Okay. And then another one down here. And hopefully by breaking it down into two separate drawings, and then you can see the regions where they overlap or have in common, that is the region you just want, okay? Once you do enough of these, you can almost do it together, but I don't recommend that. I think it's better to break it down separately so that you can see how to do it, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is A complement. That means everything not in A. All right, so we'll do that in blue. Everything not in A. And that's what it will look like, everything not in A, okay? The other thing we want to shade in is the complement of B. That's everything not in B. All right? So we're going to do that, everything not in B. Okay? Now, what regions in both of these sub-Venn diagrams have in common? What do they share? Okay? You're going to see that the region on the outside, okay, remember when we said intersection, it's basically what they have in common. Remember I had mentioned that in the previous video or the previous slide. So it's always important to remember that. And the areas that they share commonality is everything outside A and B. Okay. That is the region. Okay. So if you put these two and overlap them into one, this is the region where they would overlap in green. So I hope that this video helps you. I know it's kind of long, but I wanted to really break it down for you and give you a basic scenario of basic regions of complements. Now there are more when you have three Venn diagrams, three regions. For right now, I'm just going to stick to the two for right now, for simplicity, and because these are the ones you're going to see more frequently at first. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video was very helpful to you, and when you're taking college mathematics, I hope that it's some use. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.